Upkeep.
What is up, everybody? And welcome to episode 66, Thunder Up of the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. We are here on a nice Saturday morning because we were supposed to record yesterday, and my baby was up all night, and I fell asleep in the morning and just slept through my alarm. So new momhood, things doing well. But here we are on this cold Saturday. I would have thought it would have been a little warmer now, considering it's almost June, but it is what it is. How's the weather down there in Philly?
It's going same kind of dreary, but it's a lot going on today. It's the Roots picnic. There's a bunch of events. Got that track and field event here. It's a lot going on, but yeah, it's kind of dreary. 60, I think it's gonna be like close to 70 today. But I mean, it's supposed to be in the 80s next week, so
80s next week.
can't.
That's what I have as well. So
Monday's the only day it's not going to be in the 80s next week.
yeah, I
Yeah.
am holding out hope for that because my in-laws have a beautiful pool at their house, and I'm trying to take advantage of it while I'm still on maternity leave and bring her up there and get her in the pool. So we had a pool day last weekend. She got in the pool for the first time. So trying to keep that up so that she's a good little swimmer. That's the goal. But anyway, let's talk about some NFL stuff. I believe we are officially 100 days. Maybe yesterday was 100 days until the season starts, which is extraordinarily exciting and daunting for those of us that work for or in the NFL. But according to the NFL Insider, Jordan Schultz, I believe you say that right. Multiple teams have inquired about the availability of Kyle Pitts. I was trying to remember this when I saw this. Did he say that he wanted to trade last season? Was he one of the players that said that he would be open to a trade or wanted to trade?
I think it was rumored, but I don't know if he ever said that. It might have been his representation or maybe parents or something, just because somebody in his camp said that, but I don't think it was him directly.
Yeah. So, we're not really sure how true or not true this is. Again, we've had an insider talk about it, but I think we can speculate if he were to leave, where would he go? Can I just take a guess at where I think you think he should go? Do you think he should go to Buffalo? Kylan's frozen, but Kylan, you there? So, as the reason I say that more jokingly, Kylan, I think lost some service there. More jokingly than not is that Kylan loves to say that Josh Allen needs some more offensive weapons. Kyle Pitts is an extraordinary tight end, so we'll see where he ends up. There are a few teams, obviously, that could use him, but the tight end situation in the NFL is pretty solid right now. So I'm curious to see what are those multiple teams that have inquired for him and what they would be able to get for him. The Falcons have some needs for sure. So I don't know if it's more of a trade or if it's picks that they're looking for. But I think that's definitely something that we will be continuing to follow as the season progresses and as we get closer to training camp. Right now, everyone's just in OTAs and most of those are not mandatory. So we'll see if he's showing up to the OTAs and stuff like that. It says that he's open to trades, that he's not aggressively seeking a trade. I think that means that he'd be fine going back and playing for Arizona this year, but you never know. So moving on to, I know Kylan is going to have a lot to say on this. We probably will end up circling back to it, but according to Front Office Sports, New Orleans Pelicans forward Zion Williamson is being accused of sexual abuse, which includes rape and a civil complaint filed in Seattle. these are some of those things that we talk about. There isn't a ton of information that's come out about this. So we're I moved on to Zion.
Oh, okay. Well, my
If you
bad.
had,
The internet's
yeah,
yeah,
no,
my internet chose the worst time to crap out on me, so I'm on my phone now.
um, yeah. So I
Um,
was more saying with the Zion stuff. Unfortunately, it's one of these things that we continue to hear about with these athletes, and I don't know if it's we don't really know a lot of details on this. The accusations have been out, and we pray for the victims, the person who filed the complaint, that if it's true, that they get the justice that they deserve. And for Zion, all you can kind of wish for is the justice system to play out as it should in a correct manner. But yeah, Kylan, what are your thoughts on it? You there? Looks like Kylan is frozen again.
nope, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Weird time. We should have did it yesterday, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah, the Zion thing came out yesterday. A little crazy time for it. Especially with it being the playoffs. Apparently it was filed like 2 or 3 days ago. Front Office Sports was the first one to have it. Kind of disgusting if what is alleged is true. With what's going on with Zion. I believe this happened around the time that he had just started in the league too. So we'll see.
It says that the woman identified as Jane Doe accused Williamson of continuing pattern of abuse, controlling, and threatening behavior over the course of a relationship that started during Williamson's freshman year at Duke and lasted from 2018 to 2023.
Yeah, crazy time, and obviously, if what is proven to be true, he shouldn't be in the league. They should suspend him.
He should be, if what is true is true, he should be in jail.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, crazy. It's very unfortunate. If I can go back to my thoughts on Kyle Pitts real quick.
Yeah.
I think Kyle Pitts. I think it makes sense for him, right? I mean, I think that there are way too many weapons in Atlanta. I'm not hating on Atlanta. Morgan knows I've said this to her face and on this podcast many a times that there is way too many.
Mom brain. I said that he was playing in Arizona. That's mom brain.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's too many weapons there. I mean, if I'm his agent, I'm his parents, I'm worried too, because you got Drake London, you got Bijan Robinson. I think they got a backup running back that's also taking touches away from him. Like, it's just a lot of stuff going on. And I know a lot of, not me, but I know a lot of people who are his fantasy owners. They don't like that he doesn't get touches. So he needs to go somewhere where he can get touches. Now, I don't necessarily know where that is. Because every team that like needs a tight end is bad. So
that's what I was saying. I was like, I don't really know. I was joking. I said Kylan's going to say that he should go to the Bills because you always think that Josh Allen needs more. They don't need to tight end.
He does.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I was saying all the tight end positions are kind of set in the NFL. I mean, I guess like the Giants maybe would be a fit. That kind of like, they have some good tight ends with Bellinger and the other guy, I can't remember his name, but they don't really have like a star tight end. So like, I guess you could say the Giants might be probably the best team that's in need for a good tight end.
Chargers, probably, right?
Yeah. Chargers, Commanders. I don't know who their tight end is right now.
It's Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz. But I mean, he's on like he's doing well, but that's just because Jaden Daniels. They could use a younger tight end.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen, but they could use a younger tight end. The Eagles could use him, but they have Dallas Goedert, so that's not really going to happen. It might happen knowing Howie, but I doubt it. I'm gonna say probably the Chargers are the best fit for him right now, or the Dolphins. We'll get to this later in a couple more segments. But I think if Jonnu Smith gets traded to Pittsburgh, I mean, how many tight ends do you need in Pittsburgh at this point? Like, are you
Yeah.
trading Pat Freiermuth? Like, what are you doing? But we'll get to that later for you Steelers fans. I know you want to know what do Kylan and Morgan think about all these weapons and no quarterback. We'll get there. But yeah. So as far as Kyle Pitts goes, I think he needs to go somewhere where he's got a good quarterback and there's not a lot of weapons. Maybe I don't know. What about I don't want to say Dallas, but Dallas maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want him. I don't want him in the division, but I guess
know.
Dallas. But I don't want to be giving these bad GMs any ammo. So I know some of them probably listen to this. So. So whatever. But yeah, Kyle Pitts, no, good for him. I think when you look around and you see that Atlanta's getting all these weapons and you like, where do I fit in all this? So makes sense for him to want to leave. If that's true or not, we don't know. Obviously, Jordan Schultz is very well connected. I'm sure it's true, but it's not like he's come out and said I want to trade. So, so we'll get there. But to some positive NCAA news. NCAA is considering expanding March Madness to 76 teams next year. Oh, so my reaction to this was I thought this was a late April Fool's joke because until I saw that this quote actually came from Charlie Baker, because y'all know how X and Twitter is. It's like a porn and fake information factory now. So you never really know until you actually look at the quote and see the article. So I thought I was being played, but I'm all for this, man, especially since the first and second round is in Philadelphia. So I'm all for this, man. Give it to 76 teams. Let more people get in, because I think it's stupid that all these teams get shanked, not shanked. That's the wrong terminology. Get skipped over because they lose games earlier and everything else. Sorry, y'all. I was watching Law Abiding Citizen last night, so that's the wrong terminology. No, get skipped over and shafted. So I'm all for the more the merrier. I know Morgan's probably for it too. The more the merrier. And you never know.
Opinion on it. I definitely understand both people's side. I think that more teams should have the opportunity to play, but I also, I haven't read enough about it. Is it more that they're just expanding that the first four, like the last four in is it more that that's just what they would be doing? They'd play kind of like a little mini tournament with all those other teams.
I think they're still working out the details, but what I think he was saying was they want to add more teams, more revenue, more money, all that March Madness goodness to spread it out, because they know they're going to be at a money hole soon, especially with the way the SEC is talking. So it makes sense. But they should be expanding it anyway, because it makes sense. I'm always for a round number, and I think you might as well just expand it to 80 and just get another site. So get a nice round number in there, because there's way more successful basketball teams now, especially now that the talent is more spread out with NIL. And I know that's why the SEC is mad. And again, we'll get to them, because I know a lot of y'all tired of me kicking the SEC in the balls, but they deserve it. So I'm all for this. This is a rare occasion where I'm on the side of the NCAA and Morgan is not. So the NCAA is probably like, what? Kylan actually agrees with us for once? Go ahead. You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope I don't mind opening it up. I absolutely do not. I just think that I don't know. I just don't want it to ruin what there already is, if that makes sense.
I get it. We lived in the 72 or whatever team thing forever, so we think that's the best, but you never know until it happens. So we'll see. We will see.
So moving, and I mean, that means UConn has more bragging rights. I mean, the men are probably in right now, but the women would have more bragging rights.
Yeah.
So what expanded the tournament for the 2026 NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments add to the excitement? I think so. You know why? Because I think that, like I said, I hate the fact that some of these teams, especially the ones that are on the bubble, they end up in the NIT tournament and they wound up being too good for the NIT tournament on the men's side and on the women's side. You see it all the time. These teams that shouldn't be there because they're too dominant. They should be in the tournament, either getting down in the first or second round. They can like get the bonuses or whatever that these schools get for going. So I think that makes more sense to me to expand. I think it's more fun. I think it's more drama. I think because here's what I think, right? I think even though the basketball committee has less drama than the football committee, they play it equally as dumb, right? Sometimes you see it where they like a 20-win team, a 20-win, this will never happen, but a 20-win Rutgers team doesn't get in because, some reason 18-win, I'll just pick on my own alma mater, Syracuse team gets in for some reason unknown. Even though I'm happy as an alum, right? That 20-win Rutgers team, which again will probably never happen, right? Deserves a chance to be in the tournament, right? So I'm all for, punish, because you see this with football too, right? I always think it's dumb to punish teams for early losses, especially when they're playing like Kansas is playing Alabama. Like the losses are going to happen early, right?
I think there's something to be said about that strength of schedule and stuff like that you need to either be required to play a certain number of quad one teams or things like that, because there are the teams that do all cupcake games at the beginning and don't schedule any hard games against another top 10, top 25 team. And they're undefeated, while there's other teams that play a few quad one little tournament mini things like that, and they maybe have lost one and now they're
right.
But
I honestly, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I was gonna say.
No, I also think that they should, instead of this, because I think I like the way I know they do this for Lunardi and them, but I think that it should just be straight record. I think we're gonna get to this in a minute next week, but I think what college football just did, where everything is about record, makes more sense than doing quad 1 wins, quad 2 wins, quad 3 wins. I'm like, when this started happening 2 years ago, I was like, is this just for Lunardi and them to make their formulas more right? Like, I hate this as a former basketball player who never got to college. I hate when you're all like, oh, you need to play hard teams or you don't get in the tournament. No, it should just be based on record. If you are 20, 25, 26 win team, like, why are we doing this, man? Like, whatever the best team, if it's Connecticut, you got 4 1 seeds, it should all be on record. It shouldn't be on, oh man, we got to do quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4, because it just doesn't work for me. But that might be my non-mathematical brain playing tricks on me. But I never get it. I know half these coaches don't get it either. So like, I'm of the mindset that the record, it should just be based on record. Like, if you're good in record, you should be a 1 seed. You should be a top 8 seed. Then you can filter it based on that. So I think it will add excitement. It'll hopefully, not that I want Joe Lunardi to lose his job, but it would hopefully make things more simple so that people like Morgan and I don't have to decipher why your alma mater didn't get in because of a system that none of us understand.
That's fair. I think that's fair. And I think that in basketball, people can complain that there's going to be less action and things like that. I don't agree with that. I think that basketball, especially with the transfer portal, is becoming much more of a fluid sport, I guess you could say. Whereas like football, it's a lot harder. The big teams are always going to be the big teams, but basketball, the smaller divisions, they can still have really good teams that can, put up I don't want to say a fight, but but
They can at
fight.
least get. They can
So-
at least get to the second round.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, no, I think it's going to be exciting. I think this is good. I think this is good. Expansion is always good. But moving right along, right? Caitlin Clark to miss 2 weeks with a quad injury. You know, I honestly think, because we talk about not Caitlin Clark herself, but her fans. I honestly think this is a great test for the WNBA that couldn't come at a better time. You know, you never wish for injuries. Not that I was rooting for her to be injured, but when I watched a couple of her games, especially that one against Chicago, she looked kind of slow, looked like something was wrong with her. And then we find out she has a bad quad, which is not to be played with, you know, leg, ankle injuries, foot injuries, as basketball players are not anything to play with, right? And I just think, like, you see it in the way people are talking about the fever now. I'm not going to watch if Caitlin Clark isn't playing. So I think this is good for the W to get those casual fans that are using this for politics to out the league. You know, for these next 2 weeks, we'll have some sane basketball conversations, right? We're going to get to what happened 2 weeks ago in a minute. But, you know, I'm of the mindset that even though I don't want Caitlin Clark to be injured, I think this is a great way of filtering out the actual W and basketball fans from the casuals and the people who are just using the stuff as some type of race fantasy, right? Or some type of white women can play ball too. Like, you know, like the W doesn't have a litany of white people who play basketball. So, you know, I'm of the mindset that it's unfortunate for Caitlin Clark, but it's very fortunate for those of us who want to have sane basketball conversations around the W. The less extreme fans of her watching games, the better. Morgan?
Yeah, you know, you never want to see a player get hurt. You never want to see a star player get hurt like Caitlin. And, you know, we talk a lot about the fact that she doesn't take a lot of time off. She doesn't rest. Sometimes your body just forces you to do that, right? It, you know, doesn't really give you a chance. And it says, you're stopping and we're taking a step back for the day and for the month, for the year, whatever. So only 2 weeks isn't terrible. Let her rest up that quad so that she's able to play for the rest of the season. But, you know, I'm wishing her a speedy recovery. That's kind of all we can say, right?
Yeah. Moving right along to the more controversial of these topics. Well, one or two. WNBA finds no racial slur was used against Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky in Indiana 2 weeks ago. Morgan, you want to start here or should I?
You can start.
Okay. So I don't think 2 weeks is an adequate enough amount of time to be able to definitively say whether there was racial stuff or not. I mean, we know because all of us have seen that low. I know some of y'all like this stuff that watch this show, but Morgan knows I'm not particularly a fan of Barstool, so I call all of what they do lowbrow sports reporting anyway. So y'all have all seen that video making the rounds of, you know, David Portnoy and one of his random employees running around asking them what they thought of Angel Reese, right? So I don't think it's a stretch, right, based on that video, right? Now look, there's probably no actual video evidence of people hurling racial slurs at Angel Reese and the rest of the Chicago Sky players, or if there is, I don't think the WNBA looked that hard, right? So because I don't think 2 weeks is adequate enough time to be able to definitively say, hey, there was no M words, there was no monkey noises, there was no whatever was going on in Indiana that weekend, there was nothing there. I don't think that's enough time to definitively say that, right? And you already know because we've seen it since they played each other in the LSU game. It is not them, it is the fan bases, right? So I don't think it's a stretch that somebody said something. I know people are pointing fingers at David Portnoy, and I could see that too based off that video that he himself posted, right? So like I am of the mindset that something happened. I don't know if it's racial slurs, but something happened, right? Because it always happens when those two get together, right? And it's never them. Or it's what happened, you know, Morgan and I talked about this the last time. You see a basketball play that Angel overreacts to or Caitlin overreacts to, and it's front page news on all the on all the websites that no one cares about, like Blue Wire, and all Fox News, all the Fox News sports channels and all this stuff. So to me, it's not a stretch. And I think that the WNBA did themselves a disservice by quickly putting out some PR statement saying we didn't find anything. And to me, my media ears are perking up because I'm like, what do you think you're going to find in 2 weeks? You ain't going to find a smoking gun in 2 weeks. Like, so I'm of the mindset that clearly something happened. If you saw that video, the way those two were dressed, the way they were walking, the way they were asking these fans, and good for some of those fans, they didn't go all in. But we saw them, they were calling her ghetto trash. They were doing all this stuff. We see the AI stuff with Angel Reese and all this. Like, people are playing around with her name. So I don't understand why the WNBA thought they could make this go away in 2 weeks. But 2 weeks is not enough time to determine whether something happened or not. And I'm of the mindset that if you're going to have these two together, it should not be televised. Like, that's a game, the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever, that shouldn't be televised. If Dave Portnoy's coming to a game, he need to be in the back. He don't need to be nowhere near these players. I don't need any lowbrow, conservative, barstool comedy anywhere near basketball because it takes it to a level it doesn't need to take, especially somebody who's on record of calling Angel Reese basically what Diane Ives said, just a little bit more clean. So I'm of the mindset that he shouldn't be nowhere near that. Morgan?
Yeah, I am a Barstool fan, so I have a little bit of a different view. I don't love Dave Portnoy. I probably like him 40% of the time and think he's an idiot the other 60% of the time. I know that he is a gigantic Caitlin Clark fan, has been for years, was going to her games when she was in college and whatever reason that is. And I think he is honestly the definition of one of those fans that we keep telling Caitlin Clark that she needs to say stop, if that makes sense. We've been talking about this for a couple years now, where just because she's not condoning what her fans are doing, or just because she's not agreeing with what her fans are doing by not condoning them, it is almost as bad. At what point does Caitlin just not come out and be like, guys, I appreciate it, but stop, and we've been literally saying that for years, and she has kind of really yet to do it. I unfortunately think that I agree with you that 2 weeks is too short of a time to investigate this kind of stuff. But, I have a bad feeling that this happens more often than not at games. And I think that the best that we can say, or that I can say, is, just because you're supporting your team doesn't mean that you can support your team without tearing down another team or being racist or being sexist or whatever. I think that you can support your team by not making fun of the other team and yelling. And I've kind of always been that way. I know some people disagree. They think that trash talking is part of the game, and it is to an extent, but there's a difference between trash talking and hate speech. So kind of whatever happened that game, I think, I don't know. It drives me crazy. I don't understand why we can't. I mean, this is literally why you can't have nice things. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just of the mindset, and I don't want to make it seem like Dave Portnoy is the only one. He's just the most famous one that put a video out from 2 weeks ago.
Very vocal.
Yeah. So, he's not the only one. He just was the guilty party at this game, putting a video out of him and his boy asking these people questions and just letting that John fly. So I don't want y'all to think that I'm unfairly targeting Dave Portnoy, because he says a lot of things that don't make this show. But I'm of the mindset that in this case he was particularly egregious because he was playing into something that shouldn't be, right, when those two get together. But it is. So it is what it is. So moving right along to the overarching question that will always follow this conversation: is the WNBA doing enough to protect the safety of its players? I'll answer this: no. They're not doing enough. I believe that, if it's bad enough that like we're seeing people go on Super's podcast and saying, "Yo, Indiana, it's so bad. They're always hurling stuff at us." Most people think it's Angel Reese. I think one of the players said most people think it's Angel Reese, but I think even Asia was saying like it was bad for us, and we ain't even do nothing to the girl. So like I'm of the mindset that if y'all can't. I'm of the mindset that if it is bad enough, would an All-Star game be held in Indiana? That the threat needs to be that they won't have the All-Star game if they keep acting the way they're acting. Because if it's getting to be like this, Caitlin Clark, I love her to death, but maybe they need to not televise them big time home games that she has if this is always going to happen, right? Like, because there's only but so much you can do before you get and I don't want it to be this way, but you get a Detroit situation where you have people running up in them stands beating these people up, and then you're gonna have Dave Portnoy and the rest of them saying, see. Like, come on now. So the WNBA needs to do something before it gets to that point where you're going to have players running up in the stands beating people up. So, I'm of the mindset that they are not doing enough, and they're proving that they're not doing enough because why did it only take you 2 weeks and then you're putting out a statement like that, we got owners of basketball teams putting out statements about, oh my God, they booed Timothy Chalamet. I'll get to why he's going to be he's not him in a minute with what has come out about him. And how he makes handicapped people get out the elevator so him and his crew can go to the games. So I'll get to John Mellencamp in a minute too. But I'm of the mindset that it's a great time for Indiana sports, but it's also a bad time for Indiana sports. Like this is why I say all the time that like media members no one is prepared for women's sports to go mainstream, least of all media members, because they don't know how to be careful like we do, Morgan and I. But like this is what it is, right? So I don't think WNBA is doing enough. I think they need to do enough before they have an Auburn Hills situation at one of their arenas. Morgan?
Yeah, I think that we've known for a while that their security, especially for their players, isn't great. Brittany Griner at one point was renting her own private jet to fly to games because she didn't feel safe flying coach, flying public with her team. So I think that that's something that's been said and done for a while. And there is something to be said. A lot of these, the places that the W play are more intimate arenas than the men's play in. So they are a lot more exposed. And I think that you can hear a lot. And I don't know how great that is for the players and things like that. You're definitely able to have more contact, I think, with the players on the women's side than you are with the men, for better or for worse. I think that sometimes that's great. Kids can get autographs, things like that. That's really sweet. But then you flip the side of people that shouldn't have the ability to get real close, up and personal with their players, the players that they like and players that they don't like, which isn't great.
All right. All right, then. That's all you got?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving right along, the New York Knicks beat the Indiana Pacers to stave off elimination and keep all the New Yorkers and Connecticuters very, very happy. Not me. But, I'm of the mindset, Morgan, you got anything to add? Maybe you watched this game.
I did. I probably Kylan feels differently than I do, but I think it's always fun when the Knicks are doing well. I think that, New York, it's always nice to see a New York team crushing it, I guess you could say. And I know they're not crushing it. They probably won't win the series, but the NBA definitely wants the Knicks to win the series. So, Game 6, I think it's tonight or tomorrow night.
Yeah. It's tonight. We'll get there.
And I'm excited for it. Halliburton has played freaking lights out. It's been a really fun series to watch. These are two great teams with some emerging stars. And I think it's fun to kind of see what the future of the league will look like with these two teams.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that, what we saw 2 nights ago was the Knicks at their peak. You won't see that again. Their backs were against the wall, just like their backs are against the wall tonight. And Cat came through, but I just don't think the way Tom Thibodeau coaches, the way Mikal Bridges has been playing, the way Josh Hart has been playing, they're gonna lose tonight. It's a wrap. This series, either way, I honestly think even if they won tonight, it's worse. It's going to be worse for the Knicks because Tyrese Halliburton is just salivating to hit a heartbreaking shot in front of the guard, so he can really do that choke side again from game one, right in the Knicks fans' faces once again. So I think for the Knicks' sake, it's better for them to lose tonight. They're not going to see it that way. But as far as in game 5, it was great. It was great for the Knicks, right? OG Anunoby was hitting those YOLO threes that he hasn't made all series. Cat was dominating because Miles Turner apparently forgot his assignment. Halliburton was missing shots. It regressed to the mean. The Knicks finally had another game where they got to be all cocky and play like the San Francisco 49ers, because that's what they are, the New York 49ers, right? They're a bunch of front runners who are not really tough. They're going to go down. And then we'll be having this conversation about why, like I said before this started, selling 5 picks for Mikal Bridges was not a smart move. So I will give them this. They made it to an Eastern Conference Finals. They're still going to get got by the Pacers. So it's the same result again in another year. But I'm of the mindset that this is great. Y'all like the Knicks. Cool. Y'all like seeing Timothy Chalamet and Mariska Hargitay and all these people in the garden smiling and being like, "Go Knicks!" That's great. That's great for y'all. I'll give it to you. But I don't like the fact that every time the Knicks win a game, they're over there outside of Madison Square Garden shutting the streets down because they won one game. I am of the mindset that Knicks fans, I used to think it was Yankees fans that were the worst, but now I'm of the mindset that Knicks fans are more obnoxious than Yankees fans, and they did a lot less winning. So I am of the mindset that the Knicks are probably losing tonight. But even if they don't lose tonight, it's going to be worse for them because Halliburton is just salivating to destroy them in Game 7. So let's just get to it. Game 6 preview. I expect the Pacers role players to play a lot better at home, just like the Knicks role players did. I expect the Knicks to have no answer for the role players. I expect Darren Naismith to start hitting shots again. I expect TJ McConnell to carve them up like they're standing still, like he's been doing. I expect there to be some role player I'm not even thinking of that'll come up for the Pacers and just, make it so it's not even a question tonight. But we'll see. My mindset is I'm saying Pacers. I said Pacers in 6 before this started, so Pacers in 6. And then we'll have these questions next week. I'll be sitting there with my face smiling. All the people that like the Knicks that are on my Twitter, not Morgan, and all these people that have come on the show and told me Knicks are better than the Sixers. I can't wait to have this conversation next week about why, like I told y'all, Mikal Bridges is not a NBA Finals difference maker, same way Jalen Brunson isn't either. I'll give you that. Jalen Brunson's a superstar. He's up and coming. But we'll see how it goes for the Knicks. But Pacers in 6. Morgan?
Yeah, I have a strong feeling as well that this might be the ending for the Knicks as well. But again, this has been a really fun series. The Knicks have been really fun to watch. Those crazy comebacks against Boston. If this is the end for them for right now, I think that this is something to be happy and to be proud of themselves for. But I don't disagree with you that this might be the end of their run here. But hey, if we got to a Game 7, how much fun would that be? Right? How much fun would that be?
I mean, it'll be fun. It'll be fun for the Pacers. It'll be fun for everybody that's not a Knicks fan. Let me put it that way. But yeah, so if the Knicks lose this series, what does that say about them? To me, it says that that at this point, you sold the farm for Mikal Bridges. You put OG Anunoby back. You clearly at this point, if it's not the players, it's the coach. So I think Tom Thibodeau needs to go. I don't think he's the coach to get the Knicks to where they need to be. Matter of fact, I don't think there's any coach that can get the Knicks where they need to be. I think that at this point, the Knicks are what they are. They are a very front. They are, again, just like the 49ers, front heavy, a little bit younger, but ain't going nowhere. And we'll have to make that decision of you've got 5 players that you got to pay a lot of money to. You sold the farm to put Villanova back together, and more than likely you're getting got by the Pacers again. So, and with the East being very, very open next year, with probably Giannis not being in Milwaukee, Jason Tatum being down, really all you're competing with is the Pacers and the Sixers. Like, if you're the Knicks, this offseason is the offseason you need to make a big swing, and you can't really make a big swing because you sold 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. So at this point, the only thing you can really do is get a bench and fire your coach. But the Knicks are, just like the 49ers, not going anywhere. So, so that's where I'm at. The San Francisco Knicks ain't going nowhere. And it just says to me that you sold the farm for the wrong reason, for the wrong player that ain't going to get you where you need to go, as proven by this series. Morgan?
Yeah, I think I have a little bit of a nicer version, I think, of that. I think that they, I don't know if people expected them to go this far this year, and I think that it's something that they should be happy about. And again, I'll say it's always fun when New York sports are good. Only major city that's been honestly crap in all of our sports in the last decade. So I think that, I don't think it says a lot about them. I think that it's a... not that they're playing with house money, but almost like you got farther than you expected, and that's good. And I know that that's probably not what a lot of the fans would see, but I think that's exciting for them, and I hope that they, I guess, can see that going forward. And yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. I know it's different than you, but
yeah, I take the realistic approach. I mean, a lot of y'all were saying the 49ers were going somewhere. I was telling y'all they weren't. I was right about that. So I'll be right about this Knicks thing. So I'm gonna just, the Knicks are what they are. We'll write their eulogy next week. That's what I'll say, one way or another, whether it's in Game 6 or Game 7. I'll be right there smiling to laugh at them one way or the other. And even if they somehow do get past the Pacers, moving on to our next question, it's just going to either be a sweep if it's the Knicks or a 5-game series if it's the Pacers. Like, none of these teams have anything for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Morgan knows this. I've been singing the praises of the Oklahoma City Thunder for like the last 3 or 4 years. They are the up-and-coming, we'll get to this in a minute, they are the up-and-coming team. This is their championship to lose. They've gotten to the finals, and then they're going to have either a semi-rested Pacers squad or a barely rested Knicks squad to beat up on come next Thursday. So either way, it's good if you're a Thunder fan, right? So, like, the Thunder are going to win. I'll give y'all a spoiler. The Thunder are either going to sweep the Knicks or beat the Pacers at 5. Like, it's not going to be close, just like it wasn't for the Timberwolves. Y'all saw it. They took it personally when the Timberwolves won that one game where, much like the Knicks, they were all like, yeah, we can't be beat. And then they got shown in the next 2 games. So I'm of the mindset that the Thunder are too deep for the Knicks, too deep for the Pacers, and too big for the Pacers. Halliburton is not going to have anything for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I just think that at this point, y'all might as well just hand that trophy to the Thunder because they're going to beat up on either one of these teams. Morgan?
Yeah, I don't think that anybody's beating them. They also they look like they want it more than anybody else, if that makes sense. They just they play with a ferocious attitude, I guess, that they just look like they want it more. And I don't know if either of these other teams, I don't know if the Pacers or the Knicks have that firepower to go out there and beat them. I haven't watched, again, I've kind of more just been watching the Knicks in the playoffs. I haven't been watching everybody, but the stuff I've seen from the Thunder is impressive, and they look ready to come out there and try and win, I guess is the best way to put it.
All right. Is OKC the new up-and-coming dynasty in the NBA? Now, this is hard because of the way the CBA is, but the way they have their contract scheduled is kind of like a young NFL team. So I'm of the mindset that at least for the next 3 to 4 years, this is going to be the Thunder's Western Conference, and you'll probably get like at least 2 championships from them. So I'm of the mindset that OKC is the new power team in the NBA. That's where I am. They have the better talent. They are the second youngest team in the league. Everybody's on rookie deals besides Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso. I just found it funny before this series started with the Timberwolves. Everybody was like, well, they don't have any vet leadership. I'm all like, did y'all not see? Because I know I was, Morgan knows I was blowing that up that Alex Caruso was going to be the difference maker that Mikal Bridges wishes he was. And you see it how it is, right? Alex Caruso, who won a ring. I know some of y'all discount that bubble ring with the Lakers, but he won a ring. And look at him. Like, he's shutting down Nikola Jokic, shutting down Anthony Edwards. Like, that's the kind of difference maker you need. And that's going to be the difference maker that's going to get the Thunder to a championship. And I think after they win this championship this year, they don't need to do anything. Just keep doing what they're doing. They got the 12th pick in the draft somehow this year. They'll get a difference maker. Sam Presti knows how to build a team. So they're going to be making noise for probably the next 5 to 10 years. So they're the next up-and-coming team. I don't know about Dynasty, because I don't know if we'll ever see like a Warriors level dynasty anymore. Now with the way the NBA has structured the new CBA now, which is great for the league, but not so great if you're trying to be a dynastic team. Morgan?
I'm going to be super honest with you. I have to just agree with kind of what you've said, because I don't watch as much NBA as you do. Yeah, I don't watch as much NBA as you do. So I wouldn't be able to speak on this very well.
All right. Well, Kyler realizes that he's got some repeats on this, John. So we're going to hit this thing real quick. The Minnesota Timberwolves fall to the Thunder. Our reaction to this. I mean, like I told Morgan and Matt and a bunch of other people, I said Thunder in 5 or 6. That's what it ended up being. Like I said, the Timberwolves didn't really have anything for the Thunder. Like, they kind of relied on their height, toughness, and shooting, which all 3 of them failed them. So I'm of the mindset that, everybody knows I love the Timberwolves, but, it's one of them things for the Timberwolves where you just gotta let it go. So, and that's what they had to do. Morgan, you got anything to add?
No, all good.
Yeah. All right. So what should the Timberwolves do to keep up in the loaded Western Conference? So I've got a 2-point strategy for the Timberwolves. The first thing you need to do is get rid of Rudy Gay. The second thing, not Rudy Gay, Rudy Gobert, because I love Rudy, but it was a detriment to you in the Western Conference Finals this year, and it was a detriment to you last year. I think you need to move Naz Reid into that starting center position or get somebody who can spread the floor. And I think that you just need to rely on Anthony Edwards to continue to develop. Everybody goes through, as a superstar, everybody goes through the growing pains of playoff basketball, and eventually they overcome. And it might not be in Minnesota. I hope it is in Minnesota. But, this wouldn't be the first time that the Timberwolves and their fans have watched a superstar player go somewhere else and win a championship. So I think Anthony Edwards will continue to develop. And I think that's their strategy. Continue to develop your bench, trade Rudy Gobert, get some more picks. And I think they'll be all right. And that's how they'll keep up in the Western Conference. Because right now, like I said with the CBA, you can't go over the second apron. So now it's just about drafting players and just drafting well and then hoping that your team comes together from that. Morgan?
Yeah. I agree with you, Kylan. I'm not an NBA guy. I don't really I don't really have much else to add to that, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, moving right along then to what we promised. The Pittsburgh Steelers are considering adding Jonnu Smith to an already loaded roster. Our reaction now. I know Morgan's more the NFL inside of the two of us. I mean, I have some inside stuff, but I'm not as I didn't go to drafts. I don't be in these rooms like Morgan do. But for me, as a non-Steelers fan, but I do like the Steelers. They're in state. So I'm of the mindset that this is, I think, a thing of the rich getting richer without a quarterback. As I said earlier, I think that this is great for them, but they already had Pat Fryer move. So are they moving Jonnu Smith to wide receiver? I don't get it.
Yes,
I don't get it.
That's the only way to do it. I don't really understand this move for the Steelers at all. In my opinion, I'm like, why are we not focusing on getting yourself a quarterback? I understand that Aaron Rodgers is making things difficult. I get that. Totally understand. But if you had to have known that this was a possibility, that he was going to make things difficult. So why did you not have a backup plan? That's, I think, what you should be focusing on right now, rather than you do not need another tight end. You have 4 tight ends on your roster right now. Like, you do not need another tight end. I'm looking at their depth chart, and they have at least 4 on here. I'm trying to see.
Right, Fryer move from Washington, which I think is from Georgia, right?
Yeah,
and then
Parham Jr. and JJ Galbraith. I'm not sure where they're from.
I think they're just depth tight ends, just in case.
Yeah, they are. One's it's Parham. It's his 5th season. It looks like he played for the Broncos last year. And then JJ is a rookie from South Dakota. So
okay.
Why would you draft a tight end rather than drafting a quarterback if you were going to trade? It's just like, doesn't make any sense.
I mean, to their credit, they did draft Will Howard later.
Yeah. That's not a real, fair, but your starting quarterback right now is your QB1 is Mason Rudolph. Like, let's get this figured out before we trade for another tight end. When you have 2 tight ends, they're perfectly capable. And, Johnny, and I don't really.
Yeah, but
who's the Dolphins? Who's going to be their tight end if they trade him? Like,
maybe Kyle Pitts.
Maybe we're going to be a big round of Rosie of tight ends this offseason.
I don't know. We did not when we.
Maybe he'll go back to the Falcons and Pitts will come to Miami. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, because I totally forgot about the Dolphins. I mean, I did mention Jonnu Smith, but maybe they'll do a Jonnu Smith to Pittsburgh, Kyle Pitts to Miami thing. I don't really know. My whole thing with this is, I think this says that Jonnu Smith, much like Kyle Pitts, is looking around and saying, "Where are my touches? So I need to go somewhere." So I'm of the mindset that unless they're trading Pat Fryer move for Washington, that this doesn't make sense for Pittsburgh. One has to wonder what they are doing, because, like you said, they're getting all these weapons, and they have Mason Rudolph as their QB1 and maybe Will Howard as their QB2. So Aaron Rodgers looks like he'd rather just be the 5th guy on the Pat McAfee show, or the minister, or a job in the White House with the Trump administration. I really don't know what he's doing at this point. But I'm of the mind
that just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, because eventually it was like, oh, when the schedule's released, he'll join. Oh, when this happens, he'll join. Oh, when this happens. I'm like, Steelers, get yourself a quarterback. Tight ends are fine. Plenty of tight ends.
Yeah. I don't really know. My only bet is to just say Will Howard, because I think he's better than Mason Rudolph. That might not be good for the Steelers and their fans.
I don't think Mason Rudolph is the starting quarterback. I think that
right.
His claim to fame was getting hit in the head by Myles Garrett. Like,
right.
I don't think he's I don't think he's a bad. I think he's a really solid backup. I think he will have a great career as a backup quarterback, but he's not a starting quarterback.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's why I said it's Will Howard. And again, if all of this shakes out and the Steelers don't get Aaron Rodgers, then it makes them not picking Shedeur Sanders in the first round look even more stupid. Because
I agree with you.
I am sure that Aaron Rodgers had a lot to. I don't want to put any aspersions on Aaron Rodgers, but I doubt that he wanted them to
assume anything with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. We know he didn't like. We know he didn't like what happened to him with the Jordan thing in Green Bay. So I'm sure he made them sign something that they wouldn't get Shedeur Sanders, one of them backroom winks. And that's why Pittsburgh didn't take him. But if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, then I'm just saying your quarterback is in Cleveland right now. So what are you doing? What are you doing? So
who knows? Maybe they trade somebody to Cleveland for Shedeur. I don't know.
Right. I mean, my only guess with them is I guess you just have to wait and see what happens if a backup quarterback gets released because Case Keenum isn't coming. They don't really have. There's nobody in the. I would say Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is where's he at? He's still in Atlanta right now. So maybe,
yeah,
but that's Michael Penix's job. So I don't really know what's going on.
Sam Darnold is where did he sign?
Seattle, didn't he?
Seattle.
I thought it was Seattle.
I'm gonna have to relearn this. All these big trades happened right when I was giving birth, so I have to remember where all these quarterbacks are at. But speaking of where quarterback's going to be, what is going on with Aaron Rodgers? Will he play for? I honestly think it's will Aaron Rodgers play football this season? Not even what team will get him, because from all accounts, all things that I've heard, it's Steelers or bust. There's really no other team that needs him at this point. There's, everybody else seems pretty set in their quarterback ways. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably a 50-50 chance. I think it's whatever he wakes up whenever the deadline is for if he's going to play or not for the season. He's going to go into some dark hole, drink some weird tea, and come out and make a decision. I don't into his brain, because I don't think he has insight into his brain. If that makes and I mean that in the nicest way. I don't mean that in
I mean you hate him, so you trying to be nice. I'm not gonna.
I'm just happy he's not on the Giants. Whatever. He's boring. I will get over him being our quarterback. I think Jackson Dart is going to end up playing for most of the season as a quarterback for the Giants, but that's a conversation. It's just a longer conversation for another day.
I mean, for me, I think that he won't do anything until after training camp. So after my birthday, so after July 26th, right, around the time when the first preseason games start, is when he'll start. He'll come to the Steelers. I know we keep pushing this back, but I continue to joke that it's either the Steelers, the Pat McAfee show, or the White House for him. That's his three options this year. So I'm of the mindset that if y'all don't want to see him on your television screens anytime soon, doing his version of the news, you might want to root for him to go to the Steelers. So I'm of the mindset that even though I don't think the Steelers should put all their, I think it's very un-Steelers like that they have put all their eggs in this Aaron Rodgers basket. So I'm of the mindset that Aaron Rodgers will probably play for the Steelers once training camp gets done, because we know he can't be bothered to actually do some work. So I'm of the mindset that this is Aaron Rodgers. This is probably Aaron Rodgers' last hurrah. This is his last dance. So
or do you think this is just the last team that he'll play for, or both?
So I think it'll be a little bit of both, right? I think this will probably be. I think that if it doesn't work with as good of an organization as the Steelers have, and he still blows it up, he's still doing the same things, that is over for him. I think that's really what it was this season. I think he tried, he looked around, the Jets didn't want him, the Vikings didn't want him, The Packers obviously don't want him. So I think at this point the Steelers are his last option. Obviously the Saints could be an option, but I doubt he wants to go there. So I think he wants to go to somewhere where it's already built, kind of like the Jets is already built, and all he has to do is do the minimum work to get them to the playoffs. And then his dang near 40-year-old arm will fail him like it did with the Jets. So that's why I'm just saying, like, I don't know why the Steelers went and got DK Metcalf, why you went and got a deep ball threat when you knew you wasn't going to have a quarterback that could actually connect with the deep ball anymore. So, like, I honestly just think that if Mike Tomlin can get this team, I'm going to make a bold statement. I really do think that they are constructing this team to make it so impossible for Mike Tomlin to actually have a winning season. So I'm not saying that anybody's trying to fire him, but I think that this might be a reason to get rid of Mike Tomlin. And everybody knows I'm not for that. But I think this will be, if Mike Tomlin gets this team with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback to the playoffs or even to a Super Bowl, that he deserves Coach of the Year. You heard it here first, folks. Bet on that. If that happens, if he can get a winning season out of what's left of Aaron Rodgers, then Mike Tomlin deserves Coach of the Year. I think Morgan's having dog trouble. So moving right along, is the SEC getting too cocky when it comes to their prestige? Yes. I think that Greg Sankey and them are doing a little too much lately. Like the SEC is talking about how they want to leave, they want to do this, they want to do that. And I am just like, the SEC is doing too much. Like, they haven't done anything since Georgia, won the championship 2 years ago. Alabama lost to Vandy in Oklahoma. So they weren't going to get into the playoffs. They didn't deserve to get in the playoffs. So I think the SEC is doing too much. This is a time of the rich getting richer and actually being too rich, because I think the SEC is just doing too much, right? On a week where College Football 26 came out, and I'm not going to bore Morgan. I know a lot of our fans, y'all College Football 26 fans like me, but I'm not going to bore y'all with that. We'll do that next week. But the SEC, I think, is just getting too cocky. Like I said, on a week where the video game comes out, we're talking about on a week where the video game releases information about its upcoming release in July, on a week where Charlie Baker talks about expansion for March Madness, here we are having two positive stories. We're not talking about those. We're talking about Greg Sankey and the rest of the SEC being so sanctimonious. They're talking about how they want more playoff spots and guaranteed playoff spots for SEC teams. Like, how cocky can you get? Y'all are not good anymore, right? Y'all are a very top-heavy league now, right? Y'all are a top-heavy league in a place where they can pay players now. Like, the SEC model as it was doesn't work anymore, right? And you guys are still being cocky, talking about we want automatic buys. It's a 12-team playoff coming, so we want 6 of those teams to be SEC teams because we're the best in football. Not anymore, guys. This is not Nick Saban's college football anymore. Y'all haven't been good for 2 years. Georgia, for as good as they were winning by the skin of their teeth. They didn't deserve to be in the playoffs either. But because Alabama was so bad, like, Georgia had to get in. So did Texas. Like, I'm of the mindset that, the SEC, I mean, I'm trying to be nice here because I got family in Arkansas and a lot of SEC people. But, like, the SEC is just getting too cocky. It's getting too big. Pride comes before the fall. And the SEC seems like they're doing this. Like, they're really doing too much. Morgan? You're on mute, Morgan.
Thank you. I completely agree with what you said about when's the last time they have been significant. That is a gigantic thing that the SEC needs to understand, that other teams have money, other schools have money now, and they are able to pay their players and pay, and I think that we are going to start to see teams especially non-SEC teams really, really, really thrive because of X, Y, and Z, all the, different, my brain is just not working. The NIL makes everything too different. I don't think that the SEC is going to be at the same level that they are because other teams now have the ability to recruit some of these gigantic players, these 5-star recruits. And so, so I agree that I think that they're way too cocky and they need to kind of slow down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So should college football just expand to a 16-team playoff and just get it over with? I think so because it's getting too much. Like you already have the SEC complaining. The Big Ten is doing the same thing, just more quietly. Kind of like Lil Wayne said, real gangsters move in silence like lasagna. That's what the Big Ten is doing. So like the SEC is talking, and the Big Ten is like, yeah, we want 2 automatic number 1 seeds. We want this, we want that. And I'm just like, yeah, the Big Ten is doing a little too much too. But, I'm of the mindset to just expand it to a 16-team playoff. The best teams should get the first 4. The first 4 seeds should have a bye. This is the way the NFL should have done it too. Instead of the best 2, the best 4 teams should have a bye, and then everybody else can just, fight it out. There shouldn't be traveling amongst the stadiums other than, the next teams after that go to the first 4 seeds at home. These shouldn't even be bowl games. They're playoff games. It should be played like the NFL does it, like the NBA does it. You go to the best team's home field, and if you beat them, you beat them. If you don't, you don't. And then the championship game is the bowl game because, last year having those Final 4 games be the bowl game, I think was a disservice to the bowl game. It should have just been a playoff game, and the bowl game should have been separate. I know that the Rose Bowl and all those New Year Big 4 bowls, they're prestigious, but they should be their own thing, right? And then the playoffs should just be the playoffs, right? And so I'm of the mindset that, the 16-team playoffs should just happen. Best 4 teams get the top 4 seeds. No record, no quad 1, none of that ESPN, Reese Fowler. Here's the top 16 trying to be an award show things. Just top 16, best teams, best 4 get a bye, and that's it. No traveling other than the team going over to the best team's home field. No, the bowl games are separate, and the championship game is the final. Is the championship game, and that's it. That's where I'm at with it, Morgan.
Yeah, I think I am a little different. I don't actually mind them being the bowl games, but I do understand what you mean by you saying that it kind of devalues the bowl games. And I do, there is a part of me that kind of does wish it was a little bit separate, because then when you make a bowl game like JMU or Syracuse or something, it doesn't feel as exciting because you're like, well, we're just going to wait for the, we just want to wait for the play, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, like I get that, but also like, the bowl games still do mean something. So, yeah, I want them to expand it to a 16-team playoff, because I think it should be like basketball, where if you win your division or you win whatever, you deserve to be in. I think that's like, you're conference champion, you deserve a shot at playing the big boys. And if you lose, you lose, but you still deserve a shot. I do think obviously they need to redo, which they've already said they're redoing the seeding and how they do that. I just think that you're guaranteed in it, and then you seed based on best teams once you're in it. But yeah, I don't mind the bowl games being part of it, but I do think that it should be a 16-game playoff.
Okay. All right. To our final topic before we get to the other fun stuff. Angel Reese gets a shoe deal and becomes a member of the 500 points, 500 rebounds club. Reaction to this? Well, it's a bad day for people who think she just tosses up shots, misses, and try to expand her rebound numbers. Clearly, she can score the ball. She was working on a jump shot. This is great for her. 500 points, 500 rebounds. Congrats to her, and her shoe deal and the shoe logo looks pretty fire. I mean, she has the way that's designed. It could single-handedly like bring profit back to Reebok, because Reebok hasn't been relevant since Allen Iverson was dropping shoes. So
I was gonna say I don't think I've ever owned a pair of Reebok shoes.
You never had like an Iverson or anything?
I don't think
wow.
so.
Okay.
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Reeboks aren't bad.
I'll ask Sam.
Okay.
Have you ever owned a pair of Reebok shoes? You have? Did you have Iversons? What'd you have? He says he didn't have. He said he had Reebok shoes. Not. What do you say?
No.
He said cleats.
Okay. No. Same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm of the mindset that this is great for Angel Reese, great for her brand. She just needs to get a jump shot, and it looks like she's developing that, at least in the Unrivaled, and you saw a little bit of it in that game against Indiana. So I think this is great for her. It's always good to, have another star in there. And, I just think it's unfortunate whenever those two play each other that it's always never more than just basketball. But as far as it was a good week for Angel. They got their first win. She got a shoe deal and 500 points and 500 rebounds. That's good for her. Morgan?
She's a star. She's a great player. We've talked about this before. I think it's crazy that anybody says that she's not, a great player. And I think that this is it's good for her haters. I'm sure it's always nice for somebody like her to be able to kind of be like, screw you, I did it. I hate to say it like that, but she's been through a lot when it comes to the league and comes to people saying X, Y, and Z about her. And I am happy for her. I think that it shows that she's special and that she belongs and isn't just there because of whatever stupid people want to say, I guess. And the shoe deals are cool. I love that all these female athletes are getting shoe deals. It's going to drive younger players to buy their gear and become fans and then want to watch them and this and that. And I just think it's great for the game in general.
Okay. All right, then. To our shout out segment. I want to shout out, I did a story this week. Just came out yesterday about Philadelphia School District and the University of Pennsylvania getting together for a program to help these kids, at least 2 in these local high schools. The program will probably eventually expand to other schools in the city of Philadelphia, but to help them learn, get to college, get through their career, and obviously get through high school, because they got to get through high school first. So I really want to shout out UPenn School District of Philadelphia for that partnership and the benefit that should be to the kids. To these high schoolers, because, Morgan and I have obviously been through high school, not as much with the advent of social media as much now, where like nothing stays in school anymore. So, I always think that it's good for these kids to have as much support as they can. So yeah, shouts out to them. Let me see what other shout out. Well, we have a podcast before this. Just in case, shout out to my father, who has a birthday next Saturday on the 7th of June. So I think we'll have a show before then, but just in case, shouts out to Mr. Watson for, turning another year older next Saturday. Morgan?
That's exciting. Well, happy birthday. I'm going to do a shout out segment to my crew from the Olympics. We actually won an Emmy, a sports Emmy last week, which is super exciting.
I saw that. Congrats.
Emmy award winner, which is really exciting. I'm really proud of everybody. Takes a lot to put on a gigantic production like that. And I think it's really exciting for everyone involved. So huge shout out to the whole NBC crew, because that is something that is exciting. And then I don't know if we've kind of talked about this. We did talk about it a little bit, but shout out to the bookers at NBC for snagging Michael Jordan to do some of the NBA stuff, which I think is going to be really exciting and hopefully bring some fresh new eyes to the NBA, especially on a, in a situation where they're trying to recreate an old brand and make it new is cool for them.
All right. Yes. Good on you. Congrats on the Emmy. Yeah, good on them for making moves. To our next segment, he's not him, she's not her, and they aren't them. You want to go first, or should I?
I can go first. So my he's not him, surprise, surprise, is Mr. Aaron Rodgers. I am sick of hearing about him. I already expressed my annoyance at him. Just pick a freaking team, decide where you're going to play or not play. I'm absolutely sick of hearing about you, and I wish you just to run off into the sunset, but that's not going to happen because you're Aaron Rodgers and you must be talked about. So that is my frustration with that. I don't really have a she's not him or a she's not her or a they aren't them. Yeah, I'm good on the rest. It's been a nice week.
All right. Well, my he's not him, I kind of already previewed it, but my he's not him is John Mellencamp. I guess he's the Pacers owner or like a thing with the Pacers, but I am not a fan of owners, coming out and tweeting stuff, or seeding stuff because it's X now. So seeding stuff and, talking about, oh, we don't tolerate this in Indiana. Y'all shouldn't be booing these celebrities and stuff. I'm all like, what? Did you really put a statement out that looked copy and paste from a Photoshop over people booing Timothy Chalamet for being a Knicks fan? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is playoff basketball. Like, people get booed. Like, no one threatened them. Like, it would be one thing if they were like, oh, we hate him because I think he's Jewish. Like, it would have been something like some anti-Semitism. Like, I get that. But just booing him and who they dating Kylie Jenner and Jordan Woods because they're Knicks fans, they deserve to get booed, bro. like they're rich. They're rich and they traveled. They got front row seats and they have the Knicks jerseys. They deserve to get booed. Like, we did that. We did that at Syracuse with the opposing fans too. Like, it happens. I'm sure Morgan did it at JMU with her opposing fans too. Like, everybody gets booed when you show up in the opposing team stadium with their fans. You get booed. That's the least of your worries. Like, it's one thing, as Morgan said, you're like making racial insults, spitting some anti-Semitism at them or something, but just getting booed and you putting out a statement, and then I have to find out from reporters and other people there that you're out here making handicapped people get out of an elevator so you and your crew can go to your executive box. Like, you should have just kept that in the drafts, man. An a-hole is an a-hole. And now I know stuff I shouldn't know about you, right? Like, what you do at Hoosiers games, what you do at Pacers games. Now you're making your alma mater look bad. And the Hoosiers already got enough working against them. So, I'm of the mindset that, the Pacers, all these things, right? Indiana sports is up. And there keeps being stupidity that takes it down, and you being one of them this week, right? My he's not him saying in Indiana, a familiar face on this podcast. Y'all know that I get journalists for acting not like journalists. Greg Doyle is back in my he's not him because what are you doing asking Pascal Siakam, like, you got any more? And he's just like, who is this guy? Did you see this video? Morgan, I retweeted it. Like, he's asking Pascal Siakam, like, what happened? And obviously, because they're still up a game, he just said they out-toughed us, they outplayed us. Generic stuff that you expect from players when they're up a game in a playoff series. And he's like, well, what else happened? Is there more going on got Pascal Siakam being like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? In his African accent. And I'm just like, bro, what are you doing, man? Like, see, this is the reason why everybody, and I know Greg Doyle's probably been in this industry a lot longer than I have, Morgan and I combined. But like, you got banned from covering the Fever because the Fever, for as you know, up and down as they are, they saw that, hey, this dude is creeping out Caitlin Clark. We're going to ban him, right? And now you're awkwardly asking, I don't know what you were looking for. I tweeted this. Like, I don't know what he was looking for. Was he looking for like a football level answer where Pascal was going to be like, man, Tyrese Halliburton should have shot more. He sucks. Like, I don't know what he was expecting with the Pacers still being up a game. Like, you're not going to get that. It's not football. It's a 7-game series, best of 4. You're not going to get that when they're down, you know? So I just was so confused what he was expecting. So those are my 2 he's not him. I don't have a she's not her. My they aren't them. I mean, I could go on and on, but like something else came out today. I think it was a Warriors reporter was talking about how expanding on the Jordan Poole situation, that Klay Thompson didn't want Jordan Poole there. He was politicking behind the scenes. Draymond Green punched him, basically like that whole, you know, there was more going on. And each thing that I find out about more people who are politicking and what led up to that punch from Draymond Green, the more, and I tweeted this, the more it makes everybody who is a leader in that organization, Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, their former GM that's on ESPN right now, it makes them all look bad. Because if you were doing all this politicking because a guy who helped y'all win a ring, by the way, the last ring the Warriors dynasty has won, right? Y'all traded that man. He's in DC right now in the Wizards hell, right? And y'all are out here seems like trying to damage control because every time Draymond Green opens his mouth, it makes the Warriors look worse. So I'm of the mindset that, you know, if y'all can't get it together, this is affecting, to me, Steph Curry's legacy, because I thought Steph Curry was an okay leader, but now I see that he was enabling a punch. So was Steve Kerr. So was everybody else in executive leadership at the Warriors. Like, Draymond Green should have been suspended. He should have probably been traded away from the Warriors. It should have been him gone and not Jordan Poole. And now, because they don't have a young gun, you see what's happening to the Warriors, right? And their fans can say what they want to say, right? Some of them think Jordan Poole is being too cocky. But the more and more Draymond Green opens his mouth, the more and more we get some inside reporting from the Warriors insiders, the worse that whole team looks. So they aren't them to the Warriors, because even now, 3 years later, the more information we find out makes y'all look worse. Like, do better. That's it. You know, I don't have anything else. Great time. I apologize for my internet crapping out a little bit. Got Morgan out of here before 12:45, so yes, we hit that goal.
Ben literally just popped his head in and was like, bye. He's like baby sleeping down there. So I'm going to head down there and make sure she's all good. But it's so fun to be with you guys, even during kind of the slow stuff. Obviously, I'm not as good at all the NBA stuff as Kylan is, but we'll get there. We'll hopefully get there and be a little bit better. But we're excited to continue to talk to you guys. If there's any topics that you guys want us to talk about, send it over and we will see you guys next week.
All right. Have a good one, y'all.